Okay, so hello everybody. As you know, I host a weekly podcast, and this is gratefully my first interview that I'll be doing. It's somebody that I have the pleasure of knowing. His name is Eryc Constantikes. He is running for Westerly School Committee this year, Westerly, Rhode Island, I should say. So let's get into it. Obviously, a lot of people don't necessarily know who you are, Eric. So who are you and what do you do?
Hello. Thank you for having me, Ben. I appreciate you having me on your show. Well, I'm kind of a complex person in a way, just like most of us are. I was born in the South, well, the southern region of the United States in Oklahoma. I was raised by a mother from Worcester, Massachusetts, of Italian descent. My father is of Greek descent, who was in Oklahoma, born and raised. They met during the Vietnam War era. They fell in love. They've been together ever since. That's kind of backstory on my family. I'm also, as far as I am a Westerly resident, proud to be a Westerly resident. Westerly has given me many opportunities. I'm a father. Um, and most of the time that I've done outside of the military, that a little bit of time I did do in the military, I've done most of my work as an agricultural technician or a farmhand or anything in those futures. And that's just really what Eryc is. He's a basic down to earth guy, um, hard worker. Um, I'm not self-made like a lot of people, which I condone them for doing that. I still work for the people on a daily basis, and so therefore I'm used to service. Through the military, we learned there's teamwork. We learned to co-adhesion. People from all across the world join the United States military, and that's what makes it great. And that's a little bit about me, and that's why I'm started to kind of get into the politics as I am now. And that's guess I'll stop right there. That's about it as far as who Eryc is.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So I did hear you mention that you do have some family from around here, so you're not just from the South, because I know some
Right.
people may be concerned about that. Obviously, it's a different atmosphere down in the South as compared to up here. And you also have the background of being in the military, which I thank you for actually serving in our armed forces and protecting us. So great to see
This is an
that.
honor.
So, what actually got you involved in politics? Because I know you said that you have a lot of service history, but what in
Yes.
particular would you say got you involved in politics just in general?
That's actually a really good question. I think it was a smorgasbord of a lot of things, but I wanted to become more involved in the decisions that affect our families. You know, in this wonderful town we live in, the schools and the community. And I believe that positive change begins with people to step forward and participate. If we just complain about it and we don't participate in it, I'm not saying everybody can, but if you can, then we're not improving it. We're enabling it. So that's why I got involved in politics.
Okay, well, that's definitely great to hear because obviously a lot of people don't get involved in politics that should, and we have a lot of people involved in politics that shouldn't be. It sounds to me like you're actually in for the right reasons. Now, you are running for school committee, so just two quick questions on this is what made you decide to run for school committee in particular as opposed to town council or some other political position? And
Yeah,
also,
this was
based on your background in agriculture, how would you handle criticism of people saying that you don't actually have a background in the education industry to actually provide good feedback and implement good policies for the schools?
Well, those are both very good questions. As far as agricultural and farming goes and stuff, that's not a simple job as some people may think. You don't just simply throw seeds in the ground. You have to understand a lot of math and reading and science at the end of the day. A lot of science goes into farming. I don't think people understand how small, some of these things that we eat and we eat on a regular basis are small and seedy and everything else. Bananas, corn is another prime example of that. And we want bigger pieces of food that aren't going to poison us, and that's the big key right there. Is you got to do something to get an outcome without destroying what may or may not consume it or anything else around it. It can be healthy for adults but unhealthy for children, and that's not the goal of most agricultural technicians. We want to produce a beautiful outcome that's going to feed more people and essentially and at the end of the day not cause any harm to the environment, to the people that are consuming it, and etc. And I think that applies and shows that I do have intelligence, that I am able to hold a lengthy conversation, and most people that have spoken with me would agree. As well as I'm not only self-educated, but I do hold 2 degrees as agricultural technician, and I also call an AutoCAD. which is how to make stuff in a shop, and you have to make it on a computer. And before we had a bunch of AI and stuff do these 3D prints for us and stuff like that, that's how people had to make it. Every bolt in your car was made by an AutoCAD guy at one point or another. And as far as the other part of it goes, my platform is kind of what you asked, as well as the other question, if I'm correct, right? Kind of
I was asking what made you decide to run. But just getting back to that second part of the question, which you were responding to, I think you may have misinterpreted that a little bit. I was more wondering because obviously school committee, you're involved in actually implementing policies for the education of students. People may criticize you saying that you have a background in agriculture, so you haven't ever actually been like a teacher or on that side of education, and that's what I was wondering if what you had to say to people who actually say that.
Well, I am a father of multiple children, so I think that education in any child's life, including yourselves and mine, starts first at home. And so I have done a lot of those with my children, and I've taught. And when the school, when my children are at home, obviously our teachers aren't there, and we don't have tutors, so there has to be parents that can educate them and work with them and understand what they are working on as well. And I've done that, and I have taken the steps to go to the school with issues that might have occurred, and then I've also gone to the school committee. And I feel like a lot of parents do, especially in Westerly and most of other schools as well, is they don't feel heard. The people are like, well, if they had such an issue, they would come to the school committees, but they have. They have come. They have showed up. They have been there in their Sunday best, standing tall, talking to people who they thought heard them, that they thought cared. And you don't have to be the smartest person in the room to say, we're not doing the best we can for every child. And that's what got me where I am right now, really, as well as we can say like, oh, well, you don't have a background in teaching. And that's, I get that. And I can say, well, my mother did. Well, that's not you, Eryc. I understand that. But I also grew up in a home with my mother who was an educator who, when she was not tutoring, was doing a daycare at Bullfrogs and Butterflies and teaching kids there and enjoying children and children of the future, And I think a lot of people would agree. And that's what got me involved. When I was seeing, I'm going to get involved here. Here I go. I'm going to get it. When I saw our children lacking, not only did COVID after the 4 years, they just smashed our kids down and everything else. And we have recordings of our child that was talking to her teacher for almost a week straight about cats, learning nothing. And that's what got me to where I am now. And what I would say to those that say, and I guess the short of the story is I've been picking up where other educators have and other people with degrees have fallen off. And so I would ask you, what is the difference between somebody that has a heart, compassion, and determination and somebody who doesn't care that has a degree? That's what I would ask.
You make a very good point there. And I love how you actually said that education starts at the home, because that's something I believe in too. I know obviously there's a big push recently for homeschooling, but we shouldn't have to do that. We shouldn't be relegated to teaching our own kids. We should be able to actually take part in societal education industries, such as the public school system or private school system, if you can afford it. And that's really a great response. We need more of that. So yes. I'm definitely on board with that. So now getting back to your platform, what actually is the platform that you're running on?
Oh, well, I mean, I guess you can kind of see in a lot of my posters, unity over division. And I know that here in Westerly, we try, especially a lot of the people that are in control now, lead under the banner of anti-bullying and unity and everything else. But I'm seeing kids get left to the side and shucked, and it's not given the same opportunities. And it doesn't matter of race, sex, creed, religion. Everybody comes to America for what? The American dream, a better start. And our children didn't have the opportunity to choose whether or not to come to America or to be born of the family of which they are in. But we can choose to give them the best start in life. And that starts with education. Education is key on everything. If you are not educated, then you can be misinformed. And if you can be misinformed, then you can be manipulated. And we need a good, strong company of American children to come together, because if we can educate them today, and I'll get back to the platform thing. I'm just kind of giving a little bit onto where I am with the children and stuff, because I do believe full-heartedly in my heart that children are the future. We are getting to our middle ages, and we're getting into the days and stuff like that. And when I get older and I'm unable to take care of myself, or unfortunately have to go into a nursing home, or I pass away, it is going to be a child of today's day and age that is probably going to take care of me, regardless of where that way it may go. And it's great if you have family that can take care of you and stuff like that. But there's some people out there that I agree with and don't agree with. And something that they said that I didn't agree with, and I won't go into the person, if you know, is empathy. And they said that empathy was not necessary and that it was kind of made up. And I love this person that said that, but I disagree with the empathy part. I think that we do need empathy, because I think when we got away from empathy, we stopped caring about the children and the youth, and we expected everybody else to do the raising and the teaching and everything else, and everybody got compliant and comfortable after COVID. And I don't think it's about we need to get on our gloves and go to the middle of the yard and start fighting, but we need to start working together and making a better improvement. And that's kind of the platform that's focused on students and success, parental involvement. That's number one. We need parents involved. And if parents don't feel involved, they're going to feel attacked, regardless of what you tell them, what you whisper in their ear, how you rub them or hold their hands when you tell it to them. If they're not involved, they're going to feel pushed out. And no parent should ever feel pushed out of their child's life, whether it's at home or whether it's at school or otherwise. And another thing is I want to work on bringing our community closer together, because I think that that's one of the things I missed the most growing up. You could say, well, you're from the South and this, that, and the other. Well, the education platform, I would argue, is better in some places. Number one. Number two, I would argue that, a lot of people mistaken our slow down and a friendly approach as slow and dumb. And there are, but there's dumb people everywhere. And that's not all due to the school system and stuff like that. That's due to school systems and parents not working together through a child's life, and then them falling so far behind and drowning in education that they don't have the desire to improve on anything intellectual anymore. Because they got left back. They started this No Child Left Behind. I think that is the worst thing that any person has ever written on paper and said, let's do this. Because by saying we're not going to leave a child behind, you have left hundreds and thousands of children behind. They are drowning in their own non-understanding of what you are teaching them. These children, you can say, oh, well, they just don't get it. I'll use my daughter as an example. She has an IEP. She has extra assistance. She has extra helping in school, but yet she passed this year with most Fs. And it has slowly degraded over the last 3 years, where she had all Cs to all Ds to all Fs. And yes, she is a teenager and she's experiencing hormones. So I expect some of the fluctuations and stuff like that. But when my daughter sits there with her hands on her face, crying, saying, Dad, I want to do the work, I just don't understand it. And I'm like, well, why don't you tell your teachers this? And they'd say things like, she has been told to shut up by a substitute teacher, which I've had to have the vice principal call me. They say, well, I've already taught that subject. You should have paid better attention. And I'm just saying, I'm not saying at all that it's all education staff. But, I heard through the grapevine that if you're a Westerly resident and you get a teaching degree, you automatically get an interview with the school system. And we're number 3 in the state, number 3, as far as financial income comes in. We're one of the richest counties in Rhode Island. I understand people getting a shot, but just because somebody gets an opportunity that lives in Westerly to work here does not mean we have to sign their paycheck and give them a job. We deserve the best of the best, and our children, more importantly, deserve the best of the best.
Yes, yeah, you're 100% right there. I actually do have some of the statistics pulled up right now from the Rhode Island Department of Education, where, as you said, Westerly is actually one of the top schools in Rhode Island right now. I'm looking at the Westerly High School, and currently they have 65.6% of their population is proficient in ELA. Only 42% are proficient in math, and we have 56% proficient in science. So obviously that's not really helping out too much, and we really do need to actually encourage getting the best of the best, as opposed to just whoever is available and in the area. Luckily, a lot of those statistics are actually higher than the overall state. But if you had any say in hiring practices there as part of the school committee, what would you recommend in order to actually determine who is best of the best?
Well, I don't think that necessarily as a school committee we do all of the hiring and stuff. But what I would do is I would start at the top, where we do have people that need to go, and get better positions there where they have from the top of doing the hiring and the approval rates and everything else. Because I think once we get the chain of command at the top of the ladder squared away, and we can, I'm not saying see eye to eye on everything, but be able to sit down at a table. And people that work for the school committee need to understand that that's exactly what they do. They work for the school committee. The school committee does not work for those people. We work for the community. The school committee works for the community, and we work for the children. If you are an advisor to the committee or anything of that nature, then you have a voice and you can speak, but you're not going to you shouldn't, nor will it be tolerated, or should it be tolerated, that you try to hard nose and bully other people that are on the committee because you work for the committee. That's not how this works. And if people want to do that, then they just go. They just go automatically. I mean, I don't know if it needs to be a majority vote or if it needs to be a full-on everybody votes unanimously. But there's people up at the top that are causing grief for the rest of the school, and there's teachers. I've talked to teachers that they won't come forward because if they do, they're losing their job, and they care too much about our kids. There's higher ups. I've talked to people as high up as principals, vice principals, that agree with a lot of what I said, but they're not going to come forward. They're not going to come forward. They don't want to lose these jobs. They don't want to lose the kids that they care so much about. And at the end of the day, it's not what unfortunately, which is how it should be, especially in school, right? What not who and that's a fact. I'm willing to know everybody. I'm willing to sit down and talk to everybody and everything else. But I have grown up as an average Joe guy. I have no desire for some kind of corruption and some under table dealings. I mean, that's just, I'm not washing money here. I'm trying to bring the education, because the other alternative, instead of standing up and doing something about this and being part of the community, regardless of whether you think somebody is fit for the position or not, I would encourage you, if you think that you are better fit for the position, then please, by all means, please stand up and do something, because our children are lacking. And I'm not saying that, I'm better than you. If you want to do it, you can do it. What I'm saying is I'm just standing up, filling a position that's needed to be filled. That's what I'm doing. It's not a fact that I think I'm the best for the position. By all means, I believe that there are probably better people out there to stand up and take this position. But for whatever reason, I don't know why, they've chosen not to. And so I'm going to stand up and do my position, either A, until God tells me enough is enough, or B, the people of Westerly say, Eryc, you're not doing what we asked you to do. And at that time and point, I'm not going to wait until a re-election, if that comes to it. If the people of Westerly say I am doing a poor job, I'm willing to hold my hat in my hand, apologize, and step down from the position so somebody stronger and better can fill that position. And that's what makes America great, is because it's not submitting, it's filling a position. Just because you're not great for that position doesn't mean there's not another position somewhere else that you need to be needed. We're all needed. Everybody's important. And so at the end of the day, that would be my argument with the whole, what makes me think that I'm best for it. I'm committed. I love children as far as they are our future. And, they're very bright, just one day sit down and if you have a child in your family or something, and just have a conversation with them that you probably wouldn't have with them. Maybe you would have it with adults. They're going to ask you questions, but I think you'd be surprised at how much those young minds can hang on and comprehend.
Yeah, it really is surprising. I mean, I get to see it quite often with certain people I get to talk to just in my daily life. And it's really cool to see, because obviously they are our future. So it's nice to see that they're actually inquisitive and trying to find out what's going on, the truth of everything, as opposed to just buying whatever somebody tells them to be true. Now, I do want to get a little bit more back on track with with your actual election. So if you're elected, what would be your first priority?
I mean, listening. I think that's what anybody in any position, whether you're new to it, as I'm new to politics, or whether you're coming into a position with politician experience, listening. You work for the people. And, the first thing I would want, and I would encourage, and I hope this gets out there to anybody, and I hope that in November I do get elected and I earn the people of Westerly's vote. I want people and parents, especially parents, to come to our meetings. I want you to know that when I get elected, you have a voice up there. You have ears. You have 2 ears up there. I'm wanting to hear what people's issues are. Let's work as a community together. I can't fix anything. I can't have any other priorities other than what I physically see myself if other people don't come and talk to me. We can't keep shutting parents down. We can't keep shutting the community down and having empty seats. So listening to the parents, the teachers, the students, all the people involved in our great, staff members at our work and stuff like that. And then from there we can identify the most important needs that we have to work together in a practical solutions, common sense solution,
Yeah.
practical solutions. I think those are the easiest and the quickest solutions we can get rolling right out the door.
Yeah, that sounds really great. Obviously, Westerly is very heavily Democrat leaning, from my understanding. So, to me, it seems like you're going to face quite a bit of opposition.
Mm-hmm.
And assuming that you don't take the majority, you are you are elected, and you're in the minority of the school committee. Would you be willing to work with Democrats on improving the quality of education, as well as is there anything that you are not willing to compromise with Democrats on in terms of actual policies for the schools?
There are certain things, absolutely. I'm willing to work with anybody who wants to do what's best for the Westerly students. I believe we can find common ground on a lot of different things without compromising students' safety, fairness, and strong academics or parental involvement. That's my biggest gripe is we have very little parental involvement. And I think that that's a lot of the parents' things too. So, and I get that. There is a lot of Democrats and stuff, but I have Democrat friends. I don't look at somebody, whether a Democrat and Republican, make my decision up off of somebody. My decisions are made off of somebody of your moral compass. What do you do as a person? How are you as a person? Are you naturally kind? And then there's things that I look at, in my male friends is too. Are you honest? Are you strong? Are you encouraging? And you don't have to be physically strong to be strong. Do you have morals and principles that you're willing to stand on, even when everybody else in the room says, no? Are you still willing to say yes? And that's where I am willing to compromise, but I will not compromise on my morals. And that kind of falls under my campaign running slogan, faith, family, and freedom. And and for me, it is in that order. It's faith, family, and freedom. Because I am a religious person, and I don't expect everybody else to be. And I know that me saying stuff like that can be a shutoff, but I'll never throw a Bible down anybody's throat. If you have any questions, I'll answer them as far as I can, as best as I can. But I would urge people this: there is other religions coming into this country that don't have great moral compass. And what I would ask you is, even if you're not a Christian, is to try to live by the values of Christianity. Love thy neighbor, share with each other, care for one another, and live under those Christian morals, even if you're not a Christian. And I think that we will be improving as kindness and good people as goes from there as well. Don't have to be godlike to be God. Or you don't have to be God to be godlike is what I meant. So, and I'm not going to push the Bible on anybody, but I'm just saying, just be kind to people. That's one thing. If I were to say that, I would say that I would like people of Westerly to work on a little bit more is just kindness to one another, just niceness, just a small wave, a small hi, and you'd be surprised at how much that can go and make somebody's day. People say you have great Southern hospitality, Eryc. Well, I've lived all over the country and I've been all over the world, and it's not because I grew up in the South, because I'm telling you, they're not all polite down there either. It's my mother and my father who taught me that. And that's why I say teaching starts at home. I know some of the math and some of the stuff that was taught to me in schools, but at the end of the day, the morals and stuff that I live on to this day that fail me and that never fail me, no matter how hard my days gets, is the stuff that my parents instilled at me at a young age. And so I encourage parents to get involved with your children, and get involved with the school system too, because come November, when I do get elected and stuff, I want to hear from people and I want to do improvements. I don't want to just fill a seat. We've been doing that long enough. And as far as Democrats go, I would encourage you to hit me up on Facebook, and any way you can reach out and contact me on Instagram, anything else, have a conversation with me. I try to get together with people and have a coffee. Ask me questions. What are your concerns about me? What are concerns that you have that I have about other people and stuff like that, or other things and topics that are hot right now? And just talk to me. Don't judge me. I'm not judging anybody else out there. I'm not going to ridicule anybody else out there. You're all my brothers and sisters. And I would just urge you to come and talk to me. Just have a seat with me. I can't speak for everybody. And I have my own reasons for choosing the party I have chosen, as other people have their own reasons for choosing the party they have chosen. But at the end of the day, I'm willing to work for every vote. That means Republican, Independent, and Democrat. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what political group you are, your child still deserves to have the education and the knowledge to go forth in the future and make America. I know this becomes cliche, but I wouldn't say again. I mean, I do believe that we have had high points, but let's keep making America great. Let's keep pushing forward. Let's make this 10 years better than the last 10 years, and so on and so forth, all the way around, from technology to education to friendships. You know, I would even encourage people to go out this year and before the year's out, go make 2 new friends. Go make 2 new friends. Get to know people. Talk to people in your community, because we all love you. I love you all, and I hope that you guys will learn to love me and like me as well. And I'm, like I said, as far as the demographic goes, I think there's a lot of legacy voting as well, which means my dad was a Democrat, so I'm going to be a Democrat. Because before I even knew politics, and I went into the military at a young age, 17, I didn't know anything about politics, you know. And then I got this piece of paper in the mail, where you're going to register, and I was like, "Hey, Mom, Dad, what are you? Oh, you're both Republicans? Okay, cool. I'm going to vote. That's what I am," you know. And there's Democrats that I've agreed with, and there's Democrats I've disagreed with. There's Republicans I've agreed with. There's Republicans I've disagreed with. So as far as the demographics of political parties and stuff like that goes, I wouldn't say that I have an opinion on people if that goes. But as far as what you asked about, if the demographic of the Democrats and stuff like that, I'm willing to work for their votes as well. Their votes is votes. You know, a lot of people in both parties would say, "Oh, F the other side." Why? Why? That's what makes us great, is we can have a difference of opinions, you know. And I'm not saying you're going to come around to my side, and I may not come around to your side, but we will understand each other. And if we can understand each other, we don't have to agree with each other, but if we understand each other, then we can work together.
Yeah, that's really great to hear, because obviously nowadays we have such a divided country in terms of politics on both sides of the aisle.
Yes.
I know personally, I know some people who won't talk to me because of my politics, which is truly tragic, because I do miss talking with people because of that. But I do
You're
think
a
that's a good
great guy.
place to start closing the interview out. So,
All right.
are there any platforms that you want to like highlight, or anywhere that people can reach you to support your campaign?
I'm all over Facebook. I try to post once or twice a day. I do have a website going up, which I'll link that soon. As soon as I get it launched completely, we're still in the building process of it. I do have, you can reach out on Instagram, and all of my stuff is just Eryc Constantikes at, whatever.com, at Gmail. You can reach me at my Gmail as well. It's first and last name at gmail.com. Send me emails. Keep them respectful is all I would ask, because sometimes I do have my kids with me when I go through these, so, no vulgar pictures and stuff like that, preferably. But if not, I understand, and I forgive you. So, but that is that. And I'm very accessible. I don't have a current phone number that people can text and call, but I do plan on getting one of those in the next week.
Perfect. Well, thank you for coming on and letting me interview you. You sound to be a pretty good candidate. Too bad I can't vote for you in the Westerly elections, because I don't live in the area. But thank you very much. Do you have any closing remarks that you'd like to say, aside from like what you just said?
No, nothing. I don't have anything else to add. Thank you very much for having me. It's been an honor. This has been very enjoyable. So anytime you would like to get myself on again, I'd be more than happy to be on your show again, sir.
All right, I'll potentially take you up on that offer. So thank you very much. And for everybody at home listening, this has been Eryc Constantikes. Like he said, he provided you all his platforms. So please go and take a look at him. And if you're in the Westerly area, please consider voting for him in the November election this year. Thank you very much.